When you're working to architect enterprise software, it's important to consider the layered approach to building your software. The diagram on the screen shows you the common layer breakout for an application. That includes a presentation layer, a service layer, a logical or business layer, a data access layer, and then a persistence layer. The idea behind breaking your software into layers is that you want to isolate a particular type of functionality to a given layer to ensure that that layer of functionality can be removed or replaced as the application evolves. A prime example of this is the data layer. When you're building your application, you may come to a point where you would need to replace your database or persistence layer in your application, and that data layer acts as the conduit between the persistence layer and the rest of the application stack. By being able to replace your persistence layer with, say, a web service, and then modifying your data access layer to accommodate web service calls versus database calls, you've now made your application modular enough to where you can pick up and change out your data access components or layers without having to modify the rest of the application. This diagram shows you a more complete representation of a software development stack. The architecture presented here provides you with 4 primary pieces of functionality. Those areas include user interface components, service layer components, business components, then you have data access or gateway components, and then finally the persistence or data source components. Additionally, presented along the vertical of the stack is utilities such as security. We'll discuss in further detail how to take our applications and break them into these layers or components, and how to then couple and join those different components together to make a single working application. We'll be exploring this over the coming weeks and seeing how we can work all the way from that data access layer and persistence layer up through a business layer, and then finally landing on a user interface layer. I highly recommend going back and looking at this type of a diagram as you're thinking through how you build your application. Looking at these components and seeing how each piece of what you're wanting to build fits into one of these layers or areas will definitely help you to architect a great application for this term.